Welcome to Rapid Reviews. So today we're going to talk about episode 2 of The Last of Us. So I really liked the episode. I thought it was a great follow-up to episode 1, and the show continues to kind of slowly give us information. So they're not giving us too much. We're not getting these major big exposition dumps, but at least just kind of slow trickle of information to kind of color what's going on. And I think the show's doing a really great job in these first 2 episodes of not giving us too much information, but giving us just enough to kind of understand what's going on. And what's great is whether you're somebody who played the games or not, there's still a lot of room for surprises and a lot of things that are just shocking or interesting or something that's just completely unexpected. And I like that they're doing that. They're playing enough with the source material that they're true to it while veering off just enough to maintain some surprises and some interest that you might get bored with if you've just played the game and it was a shot for shot complete copy of the game. I thought the show did a great job with the design of the monsters. As someone again who has minimal knowledge of the games, I think the design was both true to the games but unique in itself. The monsters were scary. They looked gross, but it was intriguing. There's that really creepy scene of the monster basically kissing Tess, which is both gross but one of those things that you just couldn't take your eyes off of. So I really like what they've done with the design of the monsters, and I also love the sound design in this episode. I thought it was great. It really added to those scenes and the clicking. It just worked. It's something that we've gotten before, but I just love the way they were able to incorporate it into the scenes in the show and into these monsters. And speaking of, I think the show did a great job with playing with tension. We had a lot of really kind of calm moments of levity. There was some really great humor. There were a couple shots or a couple moments where I laughed out loud. So there were a lot of moments that kind of brought you down, and then there was some really great tension. So I think this show did a great job of just playing around with tension. When you really look at what happened in the episode, not a lot happened. They were trying to get from point A to point B, and they got from point A to point B. But everything in the middle, there was just some great character work, and again, great play with tension and with emotions, especially at the end when Tess has to make that awful decision, and basically our leads have to leave and leave her to sacrifice herself for them. So I think all of that worked really really well. I'm still enjoying. I think Bella Ramsey is great. I thought she was great, cast in this role, and she's still continuing to be sassy. She's getting some great dialogue to work with, and her rapport with Pedro Pascal is working really well. As I said, there were a couple moments that I laughed out loud, and I'm really loving their connection. And it's just such an interesting and different dynamic between he and his daughter. And I really like that you have this situation where he is, as the show goes on, I'm sure we're going to see that in some ways he's replacing his daughter with Ellie, but she's different, and so he's not. It's a different dynamic, it's a different relationship, and I really like that dynamic. And as much as I loved the girl that played his daughter Sarah last episode, I'm really loving the rapport between he and Bella Ramsey now. It's working really well for me. Um, as I mentioned, there's a lot of need for exposition in the show, and a lesser show would have taken spots to just dump a lot of exposition, and sometimes it takes you out of it. And I think they did a great job of writing the information we needed in a way that felt natural and didn't feel like they were just dumping exposition on it. There was even that moment when they're walking where things are kind of calm, where they're joking about what the monsters are like, and it's like they gave us exposition, but in the form of this joke, back and forth, that was almost like a throwaway thing, like it didn't mean anything. And so I like the way the show is feeding us information, as I mentioned before, because it doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel out of place, it doesn't feel like they just have to write these things in. It feels real, it feels natural when we are getting this information. I think the show's doing a great job of show don't tell. When you're telling stories, and in that they're showing us this stuff, even when it comes down to the monsters being kind of using echolocation and having great hearing, but not necessarily having they're being blind. They didn't need to tell us that. We could see it, and we could figure it out through that scene, and that helped with the tension because we didn't quite know what they were capable of, and so we were able to experience that. So I think that worked really well. I like the ending. I thought that, again, Tess getting her final moment was kind of badass right until the weird zombie kiss, which I'm not sure what to think of. But I think that scene works. The one thing I didn't like about the episode is I feel like these first two episodes were kind of two in one. We get the backstory, and then we find their mission is to take Ellie to the Fireflies, and then they get their battery, and that's it. And I felt like them finding the dead Fireflies was a bit anticlimactic. It was almost as if when they got there, it was like registered, like, oh yeah, they were supposed to meet somebody, and I feel like there wasn't quite a good enough job of really making that moment feel important, so that when they find them dead, there's a huge letdown. I think everything else in this episode was done so well that we almost forgot that everything in these first two episodes is leading to them meeting this group of Fireflies, and when we didn't get that kind of resolution, we didn't get that. At least I didn't feel that sense of, oh wow, this sucks, like they're dead, what are they going to do now? It didn't even occur to me until kind of halfway into that scene. So I think that that was the one thing that maybe wasn't quite built right, and so it was just getting a bit underwhelming or anticlimactic. But otherwise, really enjoyed the episode. I really love what they're doing so far with the show, and I'm excited to see what happens next. So that's it. My rating for this episode is going to be an 8. I could probably go a little bit higher, but I'm going to say solid 8. Worked really well. Again, great build with the tension, great rapport between the characters. I'm really loving what I'm seeing so far. So that's it for this week. Catch me next week on Ryan Reviews.